Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Compact Discourse right here on WEGL 91.1 FM, Auburn's premier home for student-run radio since 1971. I am your host, Jack Hart, joined alongside my colorman Davis Carroll and the incomparable Alex Houston. We'd like to welcome in our listeners and viewers from across the Auburn and Opelika Megaplex, as well as around the world, however you may be tuning in today, whether that be on your terrestrial radio antenna through the information superhighway at WEGLFM.com or tuning in after the fact on transistor.fm or watching us on Eagle Eye TV. We are happy to have you here in the booth with us for Auburn's only student-run drive time morning show. And now, as always, we are broadcasting live from the Bradley Basin WEGL studios here in the bowels of the Harold Melton Student Center on the campus of Auburn University, where it is a sunny and 50 degrees outside this Monday morning. Welcome you into Compact Discourse. We wish you a most sincere good morning from here on the extreme edge of the central time zone as we all get adjusted to the time change. It was a bit brighter this morning than we were all expecting, so I hope we're all adjusting to that well. Davis, how are you feeling today? I know you're tired.
I am a bit tired. I made it back home to Auburn about 1:30 last night. Didn't fall asleep till about 2. But, you know, I woke up right at 7, felt fine, so I figured I had to come in.
Had to.
This guy, always curious.
What's up, Alex?
Where
Good
were you,
morning.
Davis? I'm very curious, yeah.
You don't get to know. You made me mad earlier.
Oh my gosh. Davis, you're always mad at me regardless of what I do, so I think...
I was at a concert in Birmingham.
Ooh, what concert?
Isaiah Rashad.
Ooh, very exciting.
Yeah.
How was it?
It was pretty good. Me and Luke went there.
Dubs.
There's a lot of people yelling at him the whole time, like trying to crack jokes like they were comedians, but they weren't funny. So,
That's unfortunate.
yeah.
I hope it didn't ruin the experience for you.
Only partially.
Just a little bit.
The concert was good enough that I don't care.
Don't care.
I do care, obviously. I just mentioned it, but hey, here we are.
All right, Alex, I will throw it over to you. How are you feeling on this Monday morning? You ready for another week of excitement here?
Well, I certainly am, despite the garbage state of my weekend. I started off things strong by seeing Dune in theaters. I had only seen it on my HBO Max on my computer. It was awesome. I recommend anybody who can see it on the biggest screen
This
imaginable.
Duniac over here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good, though. I like the time change. I always like gaining the extra hour to procrastinate and do my homework, but it's all right. Yeah, this week, a lot of importance happening for me school-wise, but very excited to be back for some Compact Discourse on
That's
this Monday
good to hear.
morning.
Good to hear. All right, at this point, I would like to remind our audience at home or wherever you may be listening today that if at any point in the next 2 hours you feel so inclined to ask us a question, give us a hot take, or in the highly unlikely event that we get something wrong, if you'd like to correct us, you can go ahead and call in at 334-844 WEGL. That's 334-844-9345 on your touchtone keypad. You can also send us a tweet at CDiscAU, and our dedicated team of call screeners will handle your inquiry post-haste. All right, we're going to jump right into the show today, and I think there's no better place to start than Auburn versus Texas A&M over the weekend out west in Texas, as an SEC West matchup for the Tigers and the Aggies ended up not going the Tigers' way, as the offense continued to underperform on the road, an uncharacteristic performance so far that we've seen this season. So it looks like Bo Nix is up to his old tricks. So I'm interested to see what you guys thought watching it at home on your television. What CBS was up to while I watched it from, I think, somewhere around 600 feet in the air. I think that'd be a fair assessment.
That's a fair assessment indeed.
Yeah.
Well, for what CBS was up to, they were making sure nobody would be sad that they will be no longer hosting the SEC in a few years, because just about everybody was losing their minds due to how many random commercials there were. I was watching it on Paramount Plus, 'cause I don't have DirecTV, right? And there were just random moments where it would just be silence, and there'd just be a black screen, and then they'd come back from commercial. I'm like, oh, that's great. That was not ideal. But the game itself, Davis, how would you describe the game?
Pitiful. It was the worst. It was the worst game I've ever seen Auburn play.
Well, you
Maybe
didn't
not
watch
ever.
2012 then.
Yeah, I didn't watch 2012. I was like 11.
Fair enough.
I was too busy playing outside.
No, I certainly wasn't. It's certainly one of the worst Auburn performances of the last 8 years going back to 2012, because obviously every single game in 2012 is automatically worse than this one, by far.
That's correct.
The only real comparison I can think is 2017 Clemson in terms of
I remember that one.
as pitiful a performance. I mean, if Auburn has a better kicker, they score the exact same amount of points they do against Clemson. So the only big difference is the big turnover, right? And the missed field goal are kind of the difference between those two performances in my book. 11 sacks is ridiculous. I mean, it was just a wholesale pitiful performance, and I think this was the game where we were going to see, and this is the game where we saw exactly what state Gus Malzahn left the program in, because he completely laid an egg on the recruiting trail in offensive linemen for the last 3 years of his tenure. Eston Harris and, it's Drew Bobo, right? That's Mike Bobo's son. They're both 3-star offensive linemen. They're the highest-rated offensive line recruits Auburn has had in 4 years. And I'm not a star guy. I'm not one to just, slap the table and say you got to get 5 stars only. 3 stars are bad, because 3 stars aren't bad. But the fact that a 3-star in the rating system is the highest you had in 4 years is ridiculous. And it should not happen in an SEC school, let alone an SEC school that competes with the likes of LSU, Alabama, and Georgia every single year. I can't necessarily. I will look during the break and see their offensive line recruiting over the past few years, but I guarantee you it's better than that. And you're seeing it this Saturday, because certainly there's a lot of criticism to be had for a lot of people. There's criticism to be levied at Mike Bobo, for one. A lot of the play calling wasn't ideal. The random read option that would turn into Bo passing the ball that they have not run all season, that they ran 5 times, it didn't work once. That was, in my opinion, a dumb play to run, because it didn't work the first time. Why are you going to keep running it, right? But he's basically calling plays with both hands tied behind his back when his offensive line is not any good and his receivers are not good either. They were not as bad as they were against Georgia, but a lot of drops. Now, were those drops as impactful on the game as they were against Georgia? Absolutely not.
No.
The Georgia ones were consistently throughout the game that completely halted drives. But when these happen, any momentum this Auburn offense was trying to get, even on their last gasp drive, they get a big 21-yard gain on a first down, and just Kobe Hudson just drops it right in the middle of the field. And they ended up having to go backwards, and then Bo takes a sack, and that completely torpedoes the whole drive, right?
Yeah, it was. I mean, they were going blow for blow on drops with A&M.
Exactly.
But at the same time, if you execute on that, you have such an advantage that it's almost not even a close game.
Exactly. And the difference is with A&M, their offensive line showed up. Every single time Tank Bigsby got the ball, it felt like he was having to fight for his life just to get a few yards, where Isaiah Spiller, as great as he is, had a lot of very gaping holes to run through at times.
Yeah.
By comparison, which that's, of course, is a testament to the better A&M defense versus Auburn's defense, though I think Auburn's defense played great this Saturday. The O-line was just awful. And they've been bad since 2017.
Auburn's defense played spectacularly.
Exactly.
I mean, they held A&M to 6 offensive points, if you don't count the field goal at the end of the game, which probably wouldn't have transpired if things had gone differently. So, I mean, even Auburn's performance against Georgia offensively could have beaten that. It's just 6 points.
Yeah, I mean, it was a complete. Yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of missed opportunities and a lot of brought back down to earth, I would say, for this team, because I think a lot of people started looking ahead toward the the Iron Bowl and the potential SEC championship game a little too early, myself included, I'll admit. And I think, at that point, you've kind of got to. It's just a dud of a performance from the offense, and certainly a lot of the blame goes on Bo again, but the offensive line did him no favors. The lack of an established running game really did him no favors, and the wide receivers, again, didn't do him any favors. So, just to completely go back to the drawing board game. But, bright side, Derek Mason, I'm pretty sure there should not be any more real criticism levied at him for the remainder of the season. In the last 6 quarters of play, his defense has allowed 15 points, which is an incredible number, especially against Ole Miss and A&M at home. This A&M team that scored, what was it, 42 against Alabama? No, it wasn't. It's 41, I want to say.
38.
Was
41.
Yeah, it was.
41.
Okay, yeah. So there you go.
38.
So I think Derek Mason, he didn't save his job, in quotes, because his job wasn't in jeopardy, but I think he, now we're going to hear a lot more positive things about him and about this defense. But now the offense has to go back to the drawing board. They've got 2 games coming up against 2 bad defenses. Now's a chance to turn it around, because there's a lot left to play for, and the season is certainly not over by any stretch of the imagination. But we'll wait and see.
Yeah, I found the play calling to be another big issue offensively. The thing that was getting to me was, especially as Auburn, it was with I think 3-3, maybe 6-3 at this point. Whenever the missed field goal was, Auburn had it first and 10 from the A&M 17, and obviously didn't pick up the sticks. But on fourth down, they went for a goal line fade rather than try to pick up the first down at the 7. And I think that was pretty much the most in a game where points are at such a premium to the point that you've only scored 6 combined the entire first half. I don't see why you don't try to pick up 7 with a screen pass and get 4 shots at the end zone rather than just throw one fade that the wide receiver loses in the air.
Okay, so for some reason, I can't remember them going for it on fourth down. I don't know why. I watched the entire game.
They didn't go for it on fourth down.
Oh.
It was when they missed the field goal.
Oh, so it was that third down
It was the third
play.
down goal line
Right.
fade. Rather than try to get the sticks at the 7, they took a shot at the end zone on third down.
I think that was maybe more Bo's decision to go for the end zone. I don't know.
No, he should have caught. Kobe Hudson should have caught that.
That's
100%.
true. Also,
that was
also
a
he
good
should've-
throw. He just lost in the air somehow.
Which again, that was a perfect throw, and in reality, the decision would have worked. It's much like the onside kick against LSU. I think it's a comparison where the execution wasn't there, but the play call itself, I think, was worth it. I think you got to get that touchdown there, and not to mention, I think you're also relying on your field goal kicker not to miss a kick and torpedo your momentum. But Anders Carlson's kind of returning to freshman 2018 form right now, it seems, with this performance in 2021 so far. Missed extra points and 6 missed field goals so far this season.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, but in a game where points are at such a premium like this one, probably the most point premium Auburn has played in the past 5 years or so, especially that missed field goal was effectively, like a touchdown against Auburn in terms of momentum.
Yeah,
is what it felt like.
It really torpedoed it, and then it got worse and worse from there, and just a complete dud of a performance on offense. That's the word I kept going back to, just because I couldn't really.
Well, yeah, there was such a little life. I mean, it was frustrating because there was a lot of life. There were big plays, there were execution, there were passes over the middle that were caught well, but they couldn't string together a touchdown drive, which was very frustrating considering how well, they were throwing for first downs and rushing. The screen passes were working from time to time, more so than they usually do. And it was unfortunate to see as the game went on, the lack of fight from the offense to get the sticks. It seemed to be they were just biding their time. A lot of Tank would try to cut it left and right rather than just grab the sticks and play another down, as did Bo. It seemed like a lack of heart at some point.
I think it was just a team that didn't really know how to react in this game for whatever reason when their backs were truly against the wall and they felt like they couldn't get anything going. Much like when Bo loses his composure, stuff kind of starts to go sideways, and it did. And just another, again, brings the team right back down to earth and realizes that this rebuild, which is what I will start calling it, to be honest, is going to take some time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's going to be a lot, because again, they have had no offensive line recruits, and it shows when you can't execute the game plan. And that's what happened. From whatever reason, the reason they run screens is because they don't believe that Bo can sit in the pocket for more than 2 seconds without somebody getting to him, or they don't believe the receivers can catch anything over the middle. 2 things I think is a fair assessment because they can't.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what really leads to a play calling that looks so inconsistent because of the fact that they don't really know what they're working with and that they can trust the players to execute, because when they did call a lot of plays, they didn't execute either. So.
Looks like that miracle season we had all hoped for heading into this weekend is gonna have to take a little bit of a pause as we get ready for Mississippi State, and you got to take care of business against the Bulldogs if you want any chance of making things happen later on this month. So we'll look forward to that and a lot more, including a breakdown of the rest of what happened in college football this weekend. A lot of ranked teams went down, including a shakeup to the college football playoff poll that will come out tomorrow as the Spartans go down to the Spoilermakers. We'll be right back.
These are the moments you remember.
The kick is good! Auburn wins!
These are the sounds you celebrate.
Fastball driven, deep left center field. David Ross, you have company.
Whether it's the stadium, the arena, or the ballpark.
Auburn 75, Kentucky 70. I think I'll storm the court. There goes Davis. Oh my God.
Your home for Auburn sports is the Auburn Sports Network.
is making sure the air in your home is healthy for your family to breathe. Make sure you test your home for the presence of radon. It's easy. To learn more, call 866-730-GREEN. Preserve your family's health and well-being. Get your home tested. That's living healthy and green. Make sure you test your home for the presence of radon. It's easy. To learn more, call 866-730-GREEN.
A message from the U.S. EPA.
Here's farmer and landowner John Prue.
We purchased the land about 3 years ago, and there was an old farmstead on there with trees. We were going to clear the land so we could farm through it. We thought we knew where the pipe was, so we didn't call to get it located. The work on our property led to the damage of a light crude pipeline. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but it could have been much worse.
Never assume the location or depth of underground lines. Always call 811 or visit clickbeforeyoudig.com before you start work. A message from the Pipeline Operators for Ag Safety campaign.
91.1 WEGL FM, Auburn University.
Welcome back to Compact Discourse right here on WEGL 91.1 FM. I'm your host, Jack Hart, joined alongside Davis Carroll and Alex Houston. Over the break, it was brought to my attention that our YouTube live stream was still displaying our previous YouTube live stream's title, which was the Auburn hockey team's game against University of Georgia club hockey team, which happened on Friday night. So I want to thank everybody who tuned in to that, as for the first time in a very long time, I did turn over the reins of an Auburn hockey broadcast to somebody else so I could make the trip out to Texas. And it was probably the most spectacular Auburn hockey broadcast we've ever had, as for the first time in WEGL history, we had a video component, we had a score bug, we had, I think, 4 people on the crew for it. So it was a technical marvel, and I'm happy that the guys were able to take care of things while I was away from my post. So if you want to check that out, you can listen to it exactly how you're listening to this if you're on YouTube. Just go to WEGL 91.1 on YouTube and look at Auburn Club Hockey versus Georgia 11-5-21 if you want to check it out. Should be a lot of fun. Auburn did not win the game. They lost 3-2 in overtime, sadly. Or a penalty shootout even. So it was an exciting game. I'm excited about the hockey team this year. They seem to be a good squad put together. Georgia's a strong team. And I just couldn't get it done on Friday night. But that's okay. We'll bounce back and look ahead to the spring season.
Definitely.
And, all right, Auburn versus A&M. Unfortunately, we still have to talk about it for a little bit.
I don't know if we have to talk about it.
I just wanted to look at some stats.
They're bad.
They are not great. Zach Calzada, 15 to 29. I mean, you shouldn't lose to a 15 to 29 guy.
Unless your quarterback is 16 for 31, which I think is what Bo Nix was.
Bo Nix was 20 for 41.
Oh.
And when you start seeing his attempts get up above 35, you know Auburn's had a rough road game.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think there's really ever a reason when it should get that high. I don't know. One thing I was disappointed is they didn't run him as much as they normally do. Like, there's that play they do where they motion Shivers behind him and he runs. They ran it once, and they tossed it to Shivers, which made sense to me because I think everybody, and I was included in this, assumed, the defense will know what's coming because they've only ever run that play to Bo. But oddly enough, it still would have worked because the defense was waiting for Shivers, it wasn't waiting for Bo, and they never ran that play again, which was kind of disappointing.
They've only ran it like 3 other times in the season.
And it's worked every time.
Yeah, Auburn's offense known for doing things that work.
I mean,
they threw the same screen to the running back who leaked out like 5 times in one drive, and it didn't work any time.
That normally is not really a play call. That's kind of
what
something
do you mean
where
it's not normally play.
I think that's
do it
normally
every game
where Bo decides to throw it there.
No. Literally, his first read, he leaks out, throws it to the running back.
I think that's the decision that he makes more.
That's not
more so than
if he was making other reads and then looked, that's his decision. But if it's his first read and he throws it to them, and he always throws it too high, and half the time they drop it, but every time they get hit in the backfield. One time it worked the whole game, and they called it.
It worked like twice.
No, it didn't.
It worked like
Trust
twice.
me, it didn't.
I trust you. I watched the game.
You watched the game. You said half the time was a black screen. I watched
No,
it on
no,
TV.
I said that was when there were commercials, Davis, not during the game.
Trust me.
Don't be unruly.
Bad word choice.
I'm
I'm not a soccer hooligan.
Oh Lord, you might be.
I'm done.
All right. I think we need to be done talking about this Auburn and A&M game. Other than it's in the past now. Obviously, you learn from it, and you use what you learned to take on your remaining 3 conference games. But you can't let it. The stink of this game carry on through the rest of November. Is my mentality on this. Because I mean, if this offense shows up to Columbia, we've got real issues.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think it will, because I don't think South Carolina is as good as A&M, specifically on the defensive side, nor is Mississippi State. But I think, the issue is if this offense shows up against Alabama, then you're in trouble, because you've also got to keep pace with the top offense. Mm-hmm. Regardless of Alabama's struggles, it's still Alabama, and it's still a good team. It's still a great offense, and Auburn's got to be able to keep pace with them and match them. And if they can't do that, that's when they're in trouble. But then again, this Mississippi State team, I mean, they're a top 25 team, so you never know.
Yeah, you also never know who the playoff committee's going to put in the top 25.
That's true. I'm going to put some serious money on Mississippi State dropping like 2 spots.
Even after a big W against Arkansas?
What do you mean, a loss?
Yeah. Whoops.
Arkansas will probably just skyrocket into like the top 12 for whatever reason, and then it'll be like, yes, this makes a lot of sense.
They'll realize that they accidentally flipped Mississippi State and Arkansas's rankings the previous week.
They must have got them confused.
And they'll correct it, yeah.
That's the only possible explanation. I mean, it's just every week it's the same thing. But I don't know. I think right now, take it one game at a time. Realize to be quite frank, as much fun as it would have been to have it's an odd year, which means Auburn's going to make a run and beat some people. Realize that this might take some time, and it might be a few years before this team gets to playing exactly like what Brian Harsin and what the fans want. Patience is the key here, because the fact of the matter is, Auburn fans have been spoiled with their last 2 head coaches. Gene Chizik wins a national championship in year 2. Gus Malzahn goes to one in year 1. That's not how most coaching things happen. Most of the time, you go 7-6 and lose to Louisiana Monroe in your first year. Now, certainly what happened in their second year wasn't typical for Alabama, but that's what normally happens. So, patience is key for the team and just everybody, really, because, again, it's going to take a while. And right now, the focus should be on winning the games that are in front of you, not looking ahead to possible SEC championship aspirations. Yes, because if A&M loses next week to Ole Miss, Auburn's right back in it. Because if A&M loses, then Auburn controls their own destiny again. But that shouldn't be the focus of anybody, in my opinion.
Don't get your hopes up.
That's why I'm saying.
If.
Lots of ifs. So, that's that.
All right, and with that, we will jump on over to the rest of your college football scoreboard from over the weekend. There was plenty to get to from Saturday's slate. Starting with, we'll throw it over to Missouri, who was hanging with Georgia for like a quarter, and Georgia ran away with it. So,
yeah, Missouri's bad. Georgia's really good. I'm not sure if there's a team that's going to beat Georgia this year, which some would say is unfortunate. I would say it's very much reality.
That is true. We'll jump over to the Big Ten, where Ohio State beats Nebraska for, I think, the 5th year in a row. Not close.
No, it was close.
It was close?
Yeah.
Doesn't look very close.
What was the score?
I mean, it was 26-17, but I think they were up 17-0 at one point.
As in Nebraska was up 17-0?
I think Ohio State was up.
Well, let me hold up. I mean, as I recall, I think Nebraska closed it to 23-17. So
okay.
it was 23-17 in the 4th quarter.
Well, okay.
And C.J. Stroud threw 2 interceptions.
Man, nobody's good this year. What's up with this?
Yeah, nobody is good.
Cincinnati, speaking of that, expected to blow out Tulsa at home. really needed some like last minute shenanigans to beat at that point 2-3-5 Tulsa team.
Yeah, this was not a good look for Cincinnati at all. I mean, this Tulsa team did play Oklahoma State very close at Boone Pickens. They also they did lose to Ohio State by 21. This is a game that they needed to be like, hey, we belong here, and then win, and they didn't do that at all, which is problematic and not ideal.
I believe there was a goal line fumble that kind of handed Cincinnati this win.
So actually, I think Cincinnati was in like deep in their own territory trying to ice the game and then fumbled it on like a quarterback sneak. Tulsa recovered it, and then they fumbled it again, I think.
Awesome.
So it was your right amount of college football chaos.
Classic playoff team shenanigans.
Naturally.
Michigan bouncing back again. They drub Indiana 29-7. North Carolina, by dint of a 24-point fourth quarter, come back and hand Wake Forest their first loss of the season. This isn't going to count against Wake Forest's chance to go to Charlotte, though, because this was not technically a conference game, but a loss is a loss is a loss, and Wake Forest is out of luck after Sam Hartman throws for 5 touchdowns against them.
Yep, so the deal is that they are out of each other's divisions, much like Alabama and or Auburn and Georgia in the SEC, but the ACC just chooses not to count them at all in terms of the conference record, where the SEC does, but apparently...
Well, the SEC schedules the games. This game was scheduled independently by Wake and North Carolina.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
So you get a cross-divisional opponent, but because the ACC is, a 14-team conference, it's once every 7 years.
But Wake and North Carolina have a rather long-standing rivalry.
Yes, because they're separated by just a few miles.
Right. Okay, I did not know that was the actual reason.
Yeah, I think they did the first part of this home and home back in 2019, because I remember talking about this same conundrum on the old Extra Point. All right, Notre Dame, they take care of business in a storied rivalry against the midshipmen of Navy. Good to have that game back in Notre Dame Stadium after it took a break after the fight for over 100 years continuously it was played, and they had to take a break last year. But it's back, and Notre Dame is, is going to crawl further into the top 10 as a bunch of teams lost ahead of them this weekend. Oklahoma State, they do their thing against West Virginia. They win 24-3, and with the loss of Baylor loses to TCU 28-30. Looks like Oklahoma State and Oklahoma are the last two standing in the Big 12.
Baylor losing to TCU the week after they essentially fire Gary Patterson is probably not something anybody expected, but that's the Big 12 for you. It's always chaos, and it's going to be this year. I'm looking forward to Bedlam.
Big 12 indeed. Bedlam and more when we come back from a quick break. We got the rest of the college football scoreboard to break down, as well as the rest of your headlines from over the weekend in sports. Plenty of NFL news, and the NBA season continues to roll along. Hockey's in action as well. All the sports are firing on all cylinders as baseball wrapped up last week. So we'll continue talking a little more on Compact Discourse. I'm Jack Carr, joined alongside Alex and Davis. We will be back in about 2 minutes with some more of the show. So don't go anywhere. Keep it right here on 91.1.
Fire threatens everything in its path. When it threatens our nation and our communities, we respond. We bring the fight to the front line. The Army National Guard stands ready to face the dangers of Mother Nature and protect our homes and our neighbors. We will always be there when your community needs us the most. Discover more about all the ways you can serve part-time in your community by visiting NationalGuard.com.
Sponsored by the Alabama Army National Guard. Aired by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
Alabama's companies know people need to feel safe at work. That's why Alabama Works has partnered with agencies across the state to provide access to everything from CDC guidelines to the latest in on-the-job safety innovations. At alabamaworks.com, you're one click away from what you need to know to get to work safely. Work safe, be safe. Your new success story is at alabamaworks.com.
Sponsored by Alabama Works, the Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station. Alabama veterans. Are you aware that because of your military service, you may have earned VA benefits? The Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs can help you access those benefits at no cost to you, even during COVID-19 when other resources might be hard to find. The Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs has an office near you. For more information, go to va.alabama.gov or give us a call at 334-242-5077. We're open and ready to serve you. Sponsored by the Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs, the ABA, and this station.
My part-time service in the Army National Guard makes it possible for me to be more for the community I call home. My training helps me at work when I lead by example. My service in the Army National Guard allows me to keep my community and those I care about safe from threats. Learn more about how you too can live and serve part-time close to home by visiting NationalGuard.com.
Sponsored by the Alabama Army National Guard, aired by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is WEGL FM Auburn.
Welcome back to Compact Discourse right here on WEGL 91.1 FM. I'm your host, Jack Hart, joined alongside Alex and Davis, coming at you live from the WEGL Student Center on a lovely Monday morning. It's cold outside. Saw plenty of hats and gloves as I made my ride to the station this morning. So I hope everyone is adjusting to the autumnal weather accordingly as it's starting to cool off here on the plains. Let's head over to your Auburn weather report. We're currently right now in Auburn, Alabama. It is 54 degrees and sunny, high of 73 today. I know if you're out in the sun, it's going to be nice and warm, but if you're in the shade, it will be chilly indeed. A low of 44 for today, so please plan accordingly if you are hot or cold-natured. Morning temp is going to be 63 degrees in the sun. Afternoon temp 68 degrees in the sun. Looking at clear skies all the way into the night, where it's going to cool off to 45 degrees. So it's going to cool off once again. Sun will set at 4:45 p.m. Thank you, daylight savings time. And the wind will be blowing 7 miles per hour to the southwest. 62% humidity and a visibility of 10 miles today. So plenty of clear skies for you to enjoy this first day of daylight savings time. First work day, I guess, as we had a day to adjust on Sunday. Are you adjusting well?
I mean, the spring forward is really the one that always gets me. This one, fall back, I'm doing fine with that. I mean, I'll take the sun setting sooner because that means the Iron Bowl might have some portion of it at night. So that, as far as I'm concerned, that's worth it.
I mean, you can take might out of that sentence unless it kicks off at 11 a.m.
True, you never know. Stuff could get crazy is all I'm going to say. You never know what could happen.
I think a lot of stuff would have to get crazy.
Is the sun going to explode?
I don't know. I don't know.
Jake Gyllenhaal is going to show up and run from the cold from that Russian spaceship and get chased by wolves at the New York Public Library.
Russian spaceship?
Day after tomorrow. Come on. Great
It's
film.
not a spaceship.
It might as well be.
It was a...
How did it get to New York?
Because there was water.
Uh-huh.
And it floated.
I'm just saying, why was there penicillin on board?
There's a lot of ice, though. How'd it get there?
Because it was like one of those ships specifically from Russia to break through the ice. It made sense.
All right.
Look, man.
Movie police over here.
Hey,
I've never seen it. So.
As my favorite of all of Jake Gyllenhaal's movies, I will defend that movie.
That's pretty. That's a.
I'm kidding. My mom and I love that movie, though.
I like that movie.
You already said
it used to come on cable a lot. And I like cable movies.
Very fun movies. That one's about up there. I mean, it's just, you got Dennis Quaid and that other guy.
You got the part where they run from the cold.
Yes.
Most intense scene in movie history.
I don't know if that's the word you could use, Jack, but I'll agree with you.
I was riveted. They had to get away from that cold.
They had to. They had to burn more books.
What is this movie about?
It gets really cold. Global warming, Davis, it's bad.
Yeah, what are they burning books for?
To create a fire so they don't freeze to death.
That's pretty on the nose.
Yeah.
Let's burn the books of all the things here.
Well, yeah, because they have a librarian who's like, we should not burn this. This is a Bible. And then this dude's like, throw it in anyway. And everyone's like, oh.
And that guy's like, I found a whole section on tax law.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Funny joke.
Funny joke indeed. What a movie.
What a great. And Day after tomorrow will not be happening here in Auburn, as the low is just a mere 44 degrees. We'll keep it above freezing here on the plains for now, but that could change as we move into the later portions of the year. All right, well, that was your WEGL War Eagle weather update.
War Eagle weather.
You can listen at the top of the hour on WEGL for more weather updates throughout the day. But we're going to jump right in to the rest of the show, as it was a jam-packed weekend of college football. Over the weekend, number 25, Pittsburgh took it to the Blue Devils of Duke. They won 54-29, bouncing back after they lost to Miami last week. Kenny Pickett continues his campaign for a Heisman run as he goes for 416 yards and 3 touchdowns. Heisman by default this year, as no one's really having a standout season.
He should win the Heisman, but somehow they're going to give it to Bryce Young, despite the fact that Pickett is doing it with a bunch of 3- and 4-star wide receivers, while Bryce Young has a 5-star across-the-board offense. Obviously not literally all 5 stars, because that's not what any team really is, but it should belong to Pickett. Unfortunately, I just don't think they'll give it to him.
San Diego State brings their bag of tricks to the islands as they take down Hawaii 17-10. By dint of a fake field goal touchdown made the difference in that one. Number 24, San Diego State, has just one loss as they take down conference foe Hawaii.
True, and their one loss going to a Fresno State team that also just lost.
Yikes.
And San Diego State's big win against Hawaii by 7 points was to a now 4-6 Hawaii team that is 1-4 in conference. My point is UTSA needs to be ranked.
And we'll take a look at that Fresno State team who lost indeed, underline that word loss, as they got housed by Boise State 40-14 at home.
A Boise State team that has not been very good this year. This is not the Boise State program of old. They've had a lot of close, unfortunate losses, including a 10-point loss to Nevada and a 7-point loss to Air Force. They were 4-4 heading into this game. Now they're 5-4 after dominating Fresno State 40-14, 26-point victory over the Bulldogs, who now fall to 7-3. Fresno State has also lost to Hawaii and Oregon earlier in the year. Rank UTSA. I'm just gonna keep saying it. Maybe it'll happen.
The Church of R.J. Young prevails.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, we'll talk about Iowa, who is continuing to struggle after that 6-0 start. They did get a win against a Northwestern, but this is a one-conference win Northwestern team, and they barely just won 17-12. Not looking good for the Hawkeyes.
Absolutely not. Their season has really fallen apart down the stretch. They've scored a combined 31 points in the last 3 games, and on the reverse of that, have allowed what looks like 63 points in the last 3 games. Not good.
Not good at all.
Not good
for
at
the
all.
Hawkeyes.
I love Kirk Ferentz, but man, this is bad.
Even by Big Ten standards, not good. And I think this won the award for cheapest ticket to a game with a ranked team playing in it last week. That was the number 21 Wisconsin Badgers traveling over to Piscataway, New Jersey to take on the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers, who also have just one win in the Big Ten. And they did not get another win this weekend as the Badgers ran all over them 52-3. Graham Mertz goes 11 for 16 and 3 touchdowns. He was averaging a touchdown once every 3 passes.
Rutgers started the year 3-0. Since then, they've lost 5 of their last 6, including a absolutely decimation by Wisconsin. Yeah, it's just really. It takes skill to let a Wisconsin team score 50.
It really does. They are. When your quarterback only throws 16 times and gets 3 touchdowns out of it.
Not to mention he had an interception as well, but they were also able to run the ball for a whopping 305 yards. Meanwhile, poor Rutgers.
They scored 45 of those points in the second and third quarters alone.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's bad.
We'll serve up a Big Ten special courtesy of the Golden Gophers of Minnesota. They are held scoreless for 3 quarters and get trounced by Illinois 14-6. Illinois gets their first ranked win against a college football playoff ranked opponent, I think, ever.
No, they beat Penn State earlier this year, though. They weren't officially ranked by the playoffs.
Yeah, this is the first time they've beat a college football playoff ranked opponent.
Okay, I see.
So November win against a ranked opponent.
Okay, I see. I misunderstood. That's my bad.
Yeah. But, party time for Lovie Smith and the Illini.
Lovie Smith is no longer there. It's actually Brett Bielema.
Whoops. I do remember that because
Very smooth transition, though, from Wisconsin to Bielema. Not to mention Illinois might be the most vintage Brett Bielema team in history. I say that because they are the most inconsistent team on the planet. I'm just going to go down the list of their schedule. Big 30-22 victory over Nebraska. Then lose 37-30 to UTSA. 42-14 loss to Virginia. 20-17 loss to Maryland. 13-9 loss to Purdue. They beat Charlotte 24-14. Nice. 24-0 against Wisconsin. They beat Penn State in 9 overtimes.
If you want to call it that.
True. Lose to Rutgers last week and then beat Minnesota. I don't understand. Not to mention, they're going to have Iowa and Northwestern to close out the season. Illinois could still have a bowl
eligible.
They certainly could. I mean, honestly, I think they can beat Northwestern because the Northwestern team's all over the place. And Iowa, it's at Kinnick Stadium, but Iowa's bad.
I think Illinois is a perfect pick for the Duke's Mayo Bowl. if you ask me.
Absolutely. Book it.
Chaos reigns.
Definitely.
All right. NC State, they double up on Florida State 28-14 as NC State has dominated this rivalry over the recent years, and Florida State continues to play poorly. The most exciting part of this game is that somebody's going to have to win the Florida State-Florida game, and it might just be the Seminoles.
If it was not at Gainesville, I'd pick the Seminoles by a million, but unfortunately, they've got a tough stretch of doing Florida on the road, Boston College at the road. They've got Miami at home, though, but I certainly believe they can do it because, man, Florida does not want to win football games.
They're really trying their hardest not to do so. We'll get to that and some more unranked games of note after this next break, but we'll close out by talking about the Tennessee and Kentucky game, potentially a Game of the Year candidate as so far as I could tell, considering how bizarre and high-scoring and back and forth this one was. Before we talk about it, I do want to provide a quick stat on this one. This is courtesy of College Football on Reddit. They have a great Twitter account where they kind of post the best of the best on Twitter. This one comes courtesy of them. Kentucky had 42 points, 612 yards, 35 first downs, ran 99 plays, held the ball for over 46 minutes, and were still not able to win this game. This is the third time ever where a team has recorded more than 45 minutes of possession. The other two teams won their game 58-7 and 40-7, and Kentucky lost 45-42.
Yeah, that's bad. That is, I mean,
Chris was telling me Tennessee had the most efficient 17 seconds ever of passing offense.
That's what I heard.
Where they got 2 touchdowns in less than a minute.
That's what I had heard. I did not watch the game myself, but that's what I had heard after the fact. A really insane game, and that's just life in the SEC East. And now, of course, the Volunteers with Georgia, South Alabama, and Vanderbilt looking like they could finish out the season at a cool 7-5. So good for them.
After all that program's been through, that's a miracle.
Certainly. And I mean, again, they're a crazy old Miss game away from being 8-4. Not to mention a bad loss to Pitt earlier in the season. You've got Josh Heupel, who's really turned this program around in one season. Of course, we've seen Butch Jones do that as well, so you got to wait to see if it actually persists for a substantial amount of time. We'll see, though, later on.
All right, we're going to head to a quick break, and when we come back, it's all about the SEC. We're talking Ole Miss versus Liberty. Lane Kiffin not happy with that performance. We're going to talk Mississippi State and Arkansas as Arkansas gets a win at home. And, of course, we got to talk about LSU and Alabama as LSU is just one catch away from defeating the Crimson Tide this weekend. We'll be right back.
Your career isn't a job. It's a journey. Your next job could lead to bigger things, and you're in charge of how fast and how far you want to go. At alabamaworks.com, you can connect with employers and start working right now. Then chart your path forward with training and career planning tools. But it's only the beginning. Start a great success story at alabamaworks.com.
Sponsored by Alabama Works, the Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station.
The Army National Guard is committed to keeping the country safe and our communities secure. Composed of hundreds of thousands of citizen soldiers from all walks of life and in every corner of America, the Guard is always ready to respond to local or national emergencies. The Army National Guard reacts to domestic operations in each of America's 54 states and territories, including Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, Guam, and the District of Columbia. Each state National Guard's unique domestic role is to act as the first line of defense in support of civil authorities in their state. The Guard's emergency responses include serving search and rescue missions for floods, combating wildfires, hurricane and tornado recovery, and the presidential inauguration. The Army National Guard. We are always ready. We are always there. And in every state and territory, we stand guard for our communities. To learn more, log on to nationalguard.com.
Sponsored by the Alabama Army National Guard. Aired by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
COVID-19 changed everything, and good information has never been more important. There are jobs available right now. Get the facts about what it takes to get one and how you can take action. Use your time to get prepared for the job you need and the career you want. We'll all get through this with information and resources to be ready for what comes next. Your success story is our success story. Get started at alabamaworks.com.
WEGL Auburn.
Welcome back to Compact Discourse right here on WEGL 91.1 FM. We're talking college football on this Monday morning. It's a Monday morning quarterback special of Compact Discourse. If you got something to say, if you want to weigh in on what anything we've talked about so far in the show, or you got something to say about how Auburn performed in Texas, what Bama did over in Bryant-Denny, or anything in between, including Florida in trouble down in the swamp, as well as Arkansas coming away from Fayetteville with a victory over Mississippi State. Plenty of action in the SEC this weekend. If you got something to say about any of it, we'd love to hear from you. Tweet at us at CDiscAU. We'd love to get your take on the situation. That is at CDISCAU. Or you can call in at 334-844-9345, and Davis will answer your call. And that's that. So we're going to jump right back into things. Before we head to the SEC, two notable out-of-conference games were Oregon and Washington. This is a rivalry game up in Seattle. I put Oregon on upset watch, and I was not correct. That's okay. I mean, it was a pretty close game, but Oregon was the better team in this one, and they did come out with a 10-point win after, I think the real nail in the coffin was Washington botching a punt that turned into a safety at the end of the game. So
that was essentially what closed the game.
So sorry, Washington. I believed in you.
I didn't.
I think it was the purple pants. Bad look.
Must have been.
All right, then another one is, of course, we got to have a new college football playoff heading into this weekend because Michigan State loses to the Spoilermakers 29-40. Purdue blows out the Sparty, and that's probably it for State, unless they can rally the troops and make a campaign to Indianapolis.
So yeah, really, right now, what's going on in Michigan State is they've got upcoming on their schedule. They've got Maryland, Ohio State, and their season finale against Penn State. If they can win out those games, I believe they would then earn a spot in the Big Ten championship game, which presumably they would take on either Wisconsin, Minnesota, Purdue, or Iowa, who are all tied for first in that division. Which, if they can beat Ohio State, they certainly do have a chance. Again, and right now with a team like Purdue, if they played them again, Purdue has an Ohio State team ahead of them. Purdue has Northwestern Indiana. If Purdue can win out, then you've got a high-ranked team you're playing in the championship game. I don't know what'll happen, but the playoff hopes seem kind of torpedoed right now because you lose to a Purdue team that lost to Wisconsin badly. And by badly, I mean 30-13. Everybody's saying rank Purdue. They're forgetting that they've lost to Minnesota and Wisconsin and to Notre Dame. So, then again, not terrible losses, but still, a Wisconsin loss by 17 and a Minnesota loss, which only by 7. But certainly, I think Michigan State, right now, their main hopes are on getting the Big Ten championship game, not even on the playoffs right now.
All right, we'll jump on over to the SEC, where it was an exciting weekend of college football. The 3 games we have not talked about are Liberty and Ole Miss, where Ole Miss is up 24-0 at half, but Lane Kiffin's still not happy with that performance, as he made pretty clear on his Twitter account following the game. Ole Miss is going to have a big game against Texas A&M this weekend at home, a place that I think A&M has historically struggled. I'll double check that. While
What, in Vaught Hemingway?
Yeah, while Alex breaks down the Lane Kiffin situation.
So really right now, the question is starting to become how much is Lane Kiffin, I guess hampering is not the right word, but hurting Ole Miss's chances with, I think, his own coaching decisions is what cost them the game against Auburn. And even more so, the fact of the matter is that they really have to beat Texas A&M in order to have their own chance at the SEC championship game, which I do not believe they're really in it anymore because they've lost twice to two teams that are ahead of them in Auburn and Alabama. But really, it's hoping that this team, despite the fact they have so many injuries in the wide receiving core and on offense, can find a way forward with Matt Corral, and I think they can against A&M. Did you find anything on?
I did. Ole Miss has one win over Texas A&M ever, which is not true. It's just the only one that isn't vacated. And they had a 3-game winning streak from 2014 to 2016 against the Aggies, but I think all but one of those wins has been vacated. So currently A&M is on a 3-game winning streak against the Running Rebels. So
this is why you just don't Hugh Freeze.
We shall see. We
certainly will.
It's that 0-0 record really it's not a good look on the Rebs.
Yeah, especially I'm looking at the Winspedia graphic, and it really looks bad when you've got a 0-8 Houston Nutt, 0-10 Houston Nutt, and then a 0-6 Hugh Freeze, followed by 1-5, 1-4. 0-7 again. Yeah, not good for them at all.
I guess you only vacate the win. You have to keep the losses.
That's actually exactly what happens, which is one of the strangest things.
All right, over in Fayetteville, Arkansas, it was Mississippi State and hashtag college kickers back at it again, as I believe Mississippi State misses 4 field goals, including one as time expires, to not beat Arkansas as they come away with a 3-point victory, 31-28. Will Rogers does have a day, though. He goes 36 of 48, 417 yards, and 4 touchdowns on the evening.
I fully believe that neither of these teams are that good, but the idea that Arkansas would be ranked below Mississippi State, and by below I mean out of the rankings while Mississippi State sits at a cool 17 was ridiculous, and they proved it again this Saturday because Arkansas is the better team with the better losses for that matter. So
I think 2 great quarterbacks went at it, and it was a pretty good game as a result. And Arkansas has a few kicks going the other way from losing this game, and I think these teams are fairly evenly matched up. And I think that spells well for Auburn, who pretty handedly beat Arkansas, having to play Mississippi State this weekend.
Yeah. I think, there's a lot of chaos going on in the SEC down the stretch. It's going to be a fun last few weeks.
All right. We'll head over to Bryant-Denny Stadium, where the LSU Tigers, the Bayou Bengals, came to town, not expecting much. Line was 28.5 in favor of the Tide. But the number 3 Alabama, or number 2, depending on who you ask, was given all they could handle by Max Johnson and the Bayou Bengals. He throws for 160 yards and 2 touchdowns, nearly 3 as time expired. And LSU only loses by 6 to the Crimson Tide, who only muster 20 points on the game. I think that's a season low. Has to be, right?
Yeah, it is. It is.
20 points. Wow. Including, I think, 2 missed field goals, 1 missed extra point for the Tide.
Yes, I believe it was. Definitely did not have this one on my bingo card, especially LSU taking an early lead. This was a crazy game and very much not
when
a
LSU
good sign
took the lead, I was
Alabama.
expecting this is going to be a lot like the Tennessee game, where it's like 54-48, But as time ticked away and Bama wasn't scoring, it was unbelievable.
Including a scoreless fourth quarter, for that matter, where they couldn't even pull away, and LSU was still within it throughout the entire game. Just not what I expected at all. LSU owned the time of possession. LSU 5 of 18 on third down. Alabama 4 of 13 on third downs. But the difference maker is LSU's 5 for 7 on fourth downs. They went for it 7 times and got at least 5, so good for them.
I mean,
Alabama had 6 rushing yards.
There was a 4th and 2, maybe late in the fourth quarter, where that led to the where LSU busted that all the way down to the 5-yard line. The running back got free after a great block and went forward on 4th down, did not come away with a score on that one. So missed opportunities for the LSU, but they're playing against a very good Alabama defense, so you can't really blame them for that, and you have to go for you can't settle for a field goal there.
Especially not. And again, Alabama averaging 0.2 yards a carry throughout the game. Not good at all. And also penalties were the difference makers. While Alabama has 9 for 64 yards versus LSU 6 for 37. just not a good performance Nick Saban wants heading down the stretch because right now, people don't think they can beat Georgia, and they need to be showing that they can. Right now, it's showing they can barely beat LSU.
Nick Saban did not look like he looked pretty flustered.
I would say so.
A la A&M in this one. So hopefully they can sort things out in their next games against New Mexico State. And I want to say, I don't even know who else they're playing. Do you know who they're playing? Who's Bama playing next?
Talking about Alabama?
Yeah, they have a game against New Mexico State and Auburn, but I don't know who they have this weekend.
This weekend they have New Mexico State. Then they've got a game against Arkansas, followed by Auburn.
Bizarre. New SEC schedules. Not sure how I feel about these.
What do you mean?
Not everyone having their cupcake game week before.
Right before the rivalry week.
It makes. Yeah. I mean, it's fine. It's harder to keep track of.
Yeah, that's fair. It's always kind of a safe bet of Auburn would be Georgia, cupcake, Alabama. Now it's whatever.
Auburn would play Georgia, Alabama play Mississippi State on the same weekend.
Yeah, it's weird.
All right, final SEC game to talk about. I know you got something to say about this one, which is why we're going to cut you off, Alex. South Carolina at home, Williams-Brice Stadium overpowers the Florida Gators. They outscored them 40-17, including a 30-10 first half. Florida is issued their third straight loss, as was Texas this weekend, but that's a whole different kettle of fish.
That's absolutely correct.
But South Carolina prevails, and they are now 2-4 in the SEC.
Yeah, this was hilarious, to be honest. I mean, Florida is so bad, and now they have a worse record in the SEC and a worse record overall than the Shane Beamer-led South Carolina Gamecocks, who very likely will be bowl eligible. They've got a game against Missouri next week, and well, spoiler alert, Missouri is about as bad as anybody in the SEC. It's just insane how far Florida has fallen and how quickly it has happened. It wasn't gradual. They were in the SEC championship game last year. And, I mean, this game, only 26 rushing attempts for 82 yards. You got Emory Jones throwing it 30 times. Anytime you have a quarterback like Emory Jones throwing it 30 times, you might as well just call it a day. But more importantly, allowing South Carolina to get 284 yards on the ground. Marshawn Lattimore's not in that backfield, by the way, and it still happened, is insane. 200-yard rushers for South Carolina, making quarterback Jason Brown's day very easy, of 14 for 24, 175 yards and 2 touchdowns. Just a complete embarrassment from the Florida Gators. 3 straight losses, including one to LSU. Mind you, they have lost 5 of their last 7, and one of those is a win over Vanderbilt. So you might as well say they lost 5 of their last 6 and not count the Vanderbilt game because you really shouldn't. Lost to Alabama, losses to Kentucky, LSU, bad loss to Georgia, and then South Carolina. Just a dud.
Not a great season for the Gators. After looking so promising in that, their best win is probably their loss to Alabama, is what I have to say about that.
I would say so, honestly. I mean, or, a Tennessee team that might be good, maybe. I don't know, because they're kind of sneakingly decent. Also, I must issue correction. It was Marcus Lattimore who was the running back, not Marshawn Lattimore. I got those mixed up. That's my bad.
It's all good.
Florida's bad.
Gator's a Gator.
Dan Mullen fired his defensive coordinator about a year too late and fired his running game coordinator, but I'm not really sure why.
Surely this will rectify the situation.
Absolutely not, because, I mean, again, will they make a bowl game? I'm looking down the stretch. Okay, they got Sanford, Missouri, and Florida State. They will make a bowl game, but it'll be the Birmingham Bowl.
Have to win 2 of those?
Yes, two out of the next 3.
Man, all right. Well, the Sunshine Showdown will be entertaining, to say the least.
Absolutely.
So, excited for that on Rivalry Weekend, as well as everything else going on. Plenty to get to on the rest of the show. We're going to take a 5-minute break, as it is the top of the hour, 9 a.m. Thank you for listening to Compact Discourse, spending your Monday hanging out with me, Alex, and Davis here on WEGL 91.1 FM. We've got NFL to talk about, including some big surprises and big disappointments from the NFL Sunday. We'll talk to the Buffalo Bills, we'll talk to Dallas Cowboys, and a couple of other struggling teams, as well as Monday Night Football coming up tonight. Will the Bears take down the Steelers? All that and more coming up after a break.
The Delta variant cases of COVID-19 might be more infectious and more transmissible, but there is something we each can do to limit the spread of coronavirus. Wear a mask. Whether it's homemade or manufactured, embellished or plain, wearing a face mask or covering in public, in addition to social distancing and regular hand washing, is one of the easiest ways to protect yourself and others from coronavirus. According to the CDC, wearing a mask is an important part of a layered prevention approach that not only helps to limit cases of COVID-19 infections in communities where vaccination rates are low, but doing so can also limit the emergence of future COVID-19 variants. By wearing a mask or face covering, especially in crowded indoor spaces or busy areas with limited ventilation or poor air quality, you can do your part to keep yourself, your family, and others around you safe. For more information, visit our website at alabamapublichealth.gov. That's alabamapublichealth.gov.
COVID-19 changed everything, and good information has never been more important. There are jobs available right now. Get the facts about what it takes to get one and how you can take action. Use your time to get prepared for the job you need and the career you want. We'll all get through this with information and resources to be ready for what comes next. Your success story is our success story. Get started at alabamaworks.com.
My community means everything to me. That's why I joined the Army National Guard. I'm proud of where I'm from, and as a soldier, I get to give back to the people that helped me succeed. The training and leadership skills I get from the Army National Guard help me every day when I teach young people and look out for my community. If you'd like to learn how you too can serve part-time in the community you love, visit nationalguard.com.
Sponsored by the Alabama Army National Guard, aired by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
It's the top of the hour, about 9 a.m., and you're still listening to WEGL 91.1 FM. Well, you made it this far. Go get yourself a cup of coffee. You've earned it.
But I really need a cup of joe, and if I don't get one, I think I might blow a gasket, and it's not a pretty sight.
We'll be right back in a few minutes with the second half of the show. Thank you so much for listening to Compact Discourse.
In Alabama, the recycling industry employs nearly 11,000 men and women. Recycling just 10% more would create an additional 1,400 jobs and $66 million in personal income. To learn about recycling opportunities in your area, contact the East Alabama Recycling Partnership. Recycling works in Alabama. Brought to you by the East Alabama Recycling Partnership, the Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Hi, I'm Harrison Smith. You may know me from my work as Scuba, one of the hosts of the hit award-winning show Nerdcore on WEGL 91.1 FM. But what you may not know about me is that I'm a website enthusiast. That's why I'm here to tell you about WeagleFM.com. It's our hotspot on the web with live broadcast articles and more. It's like a gift that keeps on giving. Tune into your favorite shows at any time with a 24/7 online stream right on the homepage. And don't forget to check out the schedule for our station's full selection of music, sports, and talk shows. For the sports fans, there's articles aplenty covering all of the current events in football, basketball, and beyond. For those music fans, WEGL FM has got you covered. We have album and concert reviews and theme playlists for any mood. We even have live musical performances with WEGL Sessions. There's more than enough content here to keep you procrastinated when you really should be studying for that test. That's right, we know you've been slacking off. Get back to it, lazy. So, no matter what sound you're looking for, we've got it only on WeagleFM.com. That's WEGLFM.com and WEGL 91.1 FM, Auburn.
1 in 5 people in the U.S. have an STD, and many people have no symptoms. Do you know your status? Alabama residents and students attending Alabama colleges and universities can request a free at-home test for chlamydia, gonorrhea, HIV, and syphilis to be mailed right to your door. Go to adph.mybinks. That's BINXhealth.com. Again, it's mybinkshealth.com. The kit is free and confidential. Sponsored by the Alabama Department of Public Health, the Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Skilled trade workers are the backbone of every community, and also the Army National Guard. Soldiers trained to keep the power flowing, engines running, and in every other trade needed to accomplish the mission. These soldiers are on the fast track to learning skills that can set them up for success at home with companies looking to hire the best. Their resumes are being built through their paid training and part-time service. Find out how you too can learn a trade profession by visiting NationalGuard.com.
Sponsored by the Alabama Army National Guard, aired by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
Tossing food wrappers and soda cups can be expensive. That $7.99 value meal you threw out the window could cost you $500 in fines. And if you don't learn your lesson the first time, a second fine will cost you $1,000. Put garbage in its place. Throw away your trash, not your cash. Sponsored by the Alabama Department of Transportation, Alabama Law Enforcement Agency, Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station.
You can beat your toughest opponent. You can beat your best time in the mile. You can beat that old largemouth bass. But one thing you should never try and beat is a train. If a train is approaching, don't risk your life trying to beat it, because beating the train is a deadly game. Drive safe, Alabama. Sponsored by ALDOT, the Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station.
All across the nation, we are here for our communities.
We're doing our part to get supplies where it's needed in order to fight COVID-19 together.
It feels good to be out there to assist our community.
I would like our friends and family to know that your National Guardsmen are always ready and always there.
Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more. Sponsored by the Alabama Army National Guard, aired by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
WEGL Auburn.
Welcome back to Compact Discourse right here on WEGL 91.1 FM. I'm your host, Jack Hart, joined alongside Alex and Davis. Thank you to everyone just now tuning in, as it is 9:08 a.m. Welcome to the top of the hour here on Auburn's only student-run radio morning drive time show. How many qualifiers can we throw on this thing? We're going to jump right back into the discussion. We're going to use this short segment to talk about some weird stuff that happened in the NFL yesterday, and then we shall move on to some other events that happened this weekend, including what happened in Houston while I was there. Unrelated. I didn't have anything to do with it, but I did happen to be in Houston at the same time.
Gotta make sure the listeners don't suspect you as the culprit.
Here's the guy with the needle.
You can connect a few dots. My Lord. And yeah, I might have been on a movie set in New Mexico earlier this month as well.
What the?
Whoa. All right. Josh Allen intercepts Josh Allen.
And sacks Josh Allen.
And sacks Josh Allen in Saxonville yesterday in a weird game, as the Buffalo Bills lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars 6-9. Nice. So it was the class of the ACC, presumably, heading down to Jacksonville and laying a big old egg, as Josh Allen throws almost 50 passes and has 2 interceptions to show for it and no touchdowns.
Yeah, it was a really bad performance from the Bills. This weekend was essentially the weekend of, wait, how did that happen? Just over and over and over again. I mean, it was really insane to watch, because a lot of people the Bills have been one of the better teams in the league, and they completely laid an egg this weekend.
Yes, many eggs in the hen house this weekend, as the Bengals, who were, looking to be real playmakers in the AFC, lose to the Jets last week and then get, housed by the Browns at home this week as well. They lose 41-16. Joe Burrow with 2 interceptions in that one. Another head scratcher, the Broncos all over the Cowboys, 30-16. Broncos are 5-4 now, if you could believe that. The New Orleans Saints fall to the Falcons 27-25, and they score 22 of their 25 points in the fourth quarter. The Giants somehow get a win over the Las Vegas Raiders 23-16. And what are some other weird ones? Oh, the Green Bay Packers only manage 7 points, as is it Jordan Love?
Yes.
Jordan Love, 19-34, 1 touchdown, and that was all she wrote for the Cheeseheads, as it was a fourth quarter touchdown, as the Chiefs win that one just 13-7. I mean, you think Packers and Chiefs, you're expecting points in the 30s, but
Chiefs offense has been laying eggs all season. Packers defense came to play last night, but unfortunately, due to decisions made by Aaron Rodgers, he was not there to play, and instead Jordan Love. Really, this was could have been a concerning game for Rodgers, but thankfully Love completely, put out of a dud of a performance, 19-34, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. You don't expect him to, beat the Chiefs, but you expect him to look a little better than that. And right now it seems clear the Packers do not want to move on from Rodgers just this minute.
And yeah, speaking of head scratchers, potential MVP candidate Matthew Stafford comes into yesterday's game and really dashes those hopes as he throws 2 straight interceptions out of his own end zone to hand the Titans 14 points. Those 14 points they never look back from as they win that game 28-16. And I think now that the Bills lost to the Jags, I think the Titans are looking like probably the favorite in the AFC, maybe right up there with the Ravens. Although the Ravens have a pretty devastating loss that the Titans do not have. So I'd probably put them at the top of the AFC at present.
I would as well. Really, nobody really can tell. It's really insane to see just how chaotic the NFL has been all season. I mean, last week Washington loses to the Broncos. I'm thinking, all right, Washington's really bad, and then the Broncos are up 27-0 over the Cowboys this weekend. But right now, I think the clear-cut ones are the Titans. I think they're the most consistent team, and consistent is sort of relative because they did lose to the Jets and got obliterated by the Cardinals. But right now, it's really anybody's race, and including a Raiders team that is going to try and find a way forward after everything that's happened to them.
Mm-hmm. I think even after the Cardinals faltered in that crazy game against the Packers, they bounced right back and were able to handily beat the 49ers. Definitely. They're now 8-1, boasting the best record in the league, and I think, other than the Packers, they're the only 7-win team. So
yes, they are.
They almost have a 2-game lead on the rest of the league.
Well, they're the only 7-win team in the NFC. The Titans has also got the 7 wins. And again, you look at the Cardinals. They only allow 155 points this year, though. That's the lowest total in the NFC and what looks like the lowest total in all of, not all of the NFL. The Bills and Steelers are the only teams better than that. And then in terms of scoring points, they scored 277.
Yeah.
Looks like that's also the most in the NFC as well. Just dominance on both sides of the ball. Cliff Kingsbury really shocking the world right now because
the Cardinals doing it all without Kyler Murray, who was out in this one. It was and DeAndre Hopkins. It was Connor, the running back, who put on a show. He went 96 yards for 2 touchdowns.
And Colt McCoy, 22 of 26, 249 yards and a touchdown. Colt McCoy from Texas, who's 35 years old right now.
Your last memory of him might be him getting carted off the field in the 2009 National Championship game.
Unfortunately, I have some bad Washington football team memories with Colt McCoy, but that is certainly as good a memory for many of the listeners for that. And yeah, they really turning things around in such a short time. Cliff Kingsbury could not win in college, and he has more wins in this one season than I think he ever had at Texas Tech. And we're only 9 games in.
Wow, crazy stat.
Let me actually check that.
8 wins.
Yes, I believe the most wins he ever got at Texas Tech was 7. No, he got 8 in his first year. Okay, so he's 1 away from surpassing his total.
All right. Interesting. All right, well, that is going to do it for NFL Chat. It was a weird weekend. There's a lot to get to, but I don't think anything worth talking about. Panthers lost to the the Patriots, rather.
Washington lost to the bye week. So.
Yeah, I was going to say the Lions did not lose this week for the first week all year, so they'll be back at it next week looking to lose again. But that's going to have to do it for NFL Chat. It is Spirit Week over at the College of Engineering, if you are lucky enough to be an engineering student like myself. Today, from 11 to 1 p.m., you can head on over to the Brown Copel Gavin Garden and get some free hamburgers and hot dogs, courtesy of the College of Engineering.
Oh.
They're going to check if you're in the College of Engineering?
You can borrow my hat, Davis.
Heck yeah.
We've also got plenty of festivities coming up the entire week for Spirit Week over at the College of Engineering. You got the Breakfast Bash tomorrow at 8 a.m. Worry Free Wednesday kicks off at 11. Thursday, you got Start Off Strong with 100 Women Strong organization. That is Veterans Day, Thursday the 11th at 7:30 a.m. And then you got the Sip and Sign on Signing Day. Signing. Is that a good auditory joke?
I don't know.
It's like sign-engineering.
What?
Like the E-N-G. It's like signing, but it ends in an E-N-G.
I think we just go to commercial.
I'm just saying. I think it's pretty funny, but it doesn't really work over audio.
Can't say it does.
All right. Well, Spirit Week is going strong over at Brown Copel. If you would like to be privy to those festivities, just head on over to the Gavin Garden in the College of Engineering. And with that, we will head to a quick break. And when we come back, lots of things transpired over the weekend, including more developments in the Alec Baldwin situation, the Astroworld debacle, and Seinfeld hits Twitter to face a new generation of people. So, I don't even know. What's the world come to at this point?
Nobody's sure at this point. It's chaos in the streets.
Chaos reigns, and with that, we will be back in about 2 minutes with some more chaos here on Compact Discourse.
In the Army National Guard, family means everything.
Our parents, they were really supportive that all 5 of us would join. I got my education because of the Guard. I got to travel a little bit and experience a whole different culture. It helped me get my job, it helped me pay for my house.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard instills pride that you and your family will share. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about part-time service. Sponsored by the Alabama Army National Guard, aired by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
There are 250 miles of trails in Alabama state parks. That's 250 miles for you to hike, bike, and explore. And it's something we want to share with future generations. Help us improve these trails by becoming a partner in the Alabama State Parks Trail Program. To learn more about the importance of outdoor recreation and how you can help with the development and management of this new trail program, visit alapark.com or call 800-ALAPARK. Sponsored by the Alabama State Parks, the Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Check out my new time machine.
Does it work?
Hit the button.
Hey, it's Napoleon.
Oui. Check out the future.
Hey, you have a nice house. Why don't I?
You didn't save any money, buddy.
If only there was a way I could go back in time and fix that.
Yeah.
Save something for the future. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad.
How can we make Alabama a more beautiful state? By keeping our roads, highways, schools, and communities litter-free. It doesn't take much, but to think before you act. So what does the next generation say?
Pick it up, man.
Take pride in your school. Did you just litter? Clean it up, dude.
How can you make a difference? Adopt a mile. Join the Alabama Clean Campus program or join in the Spring Cleanup or Alabama Coastal Cleanup. And remember,
don't drop it on Alabama.
This message by People Against a Littered State, the ABA, ALDOT, and this station.
If you're a single man under the age of 35, you'd probably like to know what the ladies are looking for on an online dating site. A guy who had a few drinks and later got pulled over for buzzed driving. See, that could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. And doesn't a guy who's back living with his parents but calls them my roommates just scream Mr. Right?
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Dad, we need to talk.
Can we just enjoy the drive?
If you're not going to listen to me, who will we listen to?
Jeffrey. Marcia Gay Harden, what?
Eyes on the road, Dad.
What are you doing? What are you doing in my back seat? How did you get in here?
You're getting older.
Not that old.
Your brain's changing. It's natural.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Honey, I've got experience with this. Jeffrey, brain health is all about making the most of your brain as you age and helping to reduce some of the risks to your brain.
Really? Now that's interesting.
So, you'll talk to her about this, but not me. Marcia Gay Harden? Where did she go?
Learn what you can do to help keep your brain healthy at brainhealth.gov. She didn't say goodbye? I mean, I would have. Visit brainhealth.gov.
Hey, Russell Wilson here, and I know how important exercise is.
It's essential. It's essential.
With Play 60, United Way and the NFL are helping kids stay active and play at least 60 minutes a day.
Healthy kids, healthy kids.
But what this place needs is you. To donate or volunteer, go to unitedway.org/play60 because great things happen when we live united.
Donate.
Are you guys going to do that every time?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
91.1 WEGL FM, Auburn University.
Welcome back to Compact Discourse right here on WEGL 91.1 FM. I'm your host, Jack Hart, joined alongside Alex, and Davis. Hope you're staying warm on this Monday morning. It's 58 degrees and mostly sunny here in Auburn, Alabama. So thank you for choosing to spend your Monday morning with us here on this extreme eastern edge of the Central Time Zone. We are feeling the full effects of the daylight savings time change as the sun rose at before 6 a.m. and will set before 5 p.m. for the first time this year. So excited about that is a word for it. Anyway, we'll jump right back into the show. We're talking about Astro World and the run-on effects therein as the story continues to break from what happened over in Houston over the weekend. All right, I'm going to ask. I thought Astro World was a tour.
No, so
it's a festival.
It's
now.
based on the old amusement park that used to sit across from the Astrodome that I believe Travis Scott went to when he was a kid, which was the inspiration for him naming the album, right?
Okay,
and then makes the festival to sort of revive that area.
But it was a tour, and now it's like a permanent festival in Houston?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, understood.
There you go.
So that was this weekend. It was November 5th through November 6th over at NRG Park, which is right next to the Astrodome. It's where the Houston Texans currently play. And apparently, what I'm hearing, that not everything went to plan.
That's one way to put it.
Drake was there.
He was.
Right? Is that right, Davis?
He was. He came out. He played Knife Talk. And then that was shortly before. That was during the time where a lot of the videos of people freaking out about what was happening on the ground in the pit was happening.
All right, and I guess at this point I should mention what did happen. This is coming from CBS News. At least 3 lawsuits have been filed on behalf of people who say they were injured at the Houston Music Festival, where at least 8 people were killed. The defendants include rappers Travis Scott and Drake and venue entertainment company Live Nation. 2 of the suits are seeking $1 million in damages. A crowd surge occurred during Travis Scott's performance on Friday night, when concert goers started to compress towards the stage, is what Houston Fire Chief Samuel Pena said early Saturday morning. It caused some panic and started causing injuries. At least 8 people, including 2 teenagers, were killed, and dozens were hospitalized as a result of this sudden surge of people towards the front of the stage.
Yeah, things like this cannot happen at. And again, that begs the question of, what do you do to stop unruly crowds? But there are ways to stop it, because if there weren't, it would happen all the time. And the fact is, this is the worst, as far as I could tell, and I didn't do super extensive research, the worst music festival disaster since Woodstock 99, which was the one that got multiple documentaries about it and was, insanity.
Woodstock 99 only had 2 deaths.
Exactly. And, it's just, stuff like this cannot happen. And I think it's just... it's a very tragic event, and certainly not something just that you want to see happen at any time, especially at this festival. And it's something that I know a lot of people put a lot of work in to make it happen and to sort of revive that part of the area in Houston, because, again, not a lot of things have been happening in Houston with the Astrodome falling apart and Astroworld itself, the original park, going down. Just a really horrific event, and a lot of lawsuits will be coming. You said 3 have already been filed. Well, there were, 300 injuries, 8 deaths? A lot of lawsuits will be happening, and I do not imagine Astroworld will happen next year.
Yes,
or the year after.
A civil suit filed by the plaintiff against Scott and Drake blames them for negligently inciting a riot and violence. The suit, one of those seeking $1 million in damages, also claims Live Nation failed to provide adequate security and medical services at the festival. The suit alleges that Scott, who founded the festival in 2018, quote, had incited mayhem and chaos at previous events, said the other defendants did not take steps to prevent that behavior and did not provide any examples of such conduct.
Yeah, it's a mess, is the best word I can describe it. And it looks even worse when the show is not stopped during it, despite multiple videos where you can hear people screaming about what's happening. And I'm not going to, again, I don't know all that took place. I don't know what it's like to be on a stage in front of thousands of people performing a bunch of songs, so I can't speak on whether or not Travis Scott should have heard everything that was happening and shut down the show. I think it would have been in his best interest to do so, but I'm very curious as to why there wasn't any stoppage.
I don't think he heard the fans, but he was told by police and stuff that there were people passing out and getting trampled and stuff 40 minutes before they actually ended it.
Oh.
So he was aware, but I doubt he heard there was videos of the people like trying to climb up on stage and yell at him, but I doubt he was able to hear those.
But even if he hears from the police, that does beg the question of why you don't stop it. And I'm not sure if a Notes app apology 12 hours after the fact is really going to be the solution to that problem.
There's also the video of him talking.
Yeah, I didn't see that video. You seem more familiar than I would.
He was touching his head. He was going like, "Hey guys." It didn't. I don't know. It's hard to explain. You just have to see it. It's not like the most heartfelt apology. He seemed like he didn't really want to do it, but I'm sure he does feel bad. I doubt he. I really don't see why he doesn't.
No, I mean I'm certainly not doubting that at all. But there's certainly no doubt that somebody can feel guilt, but doesn't make their actions, doesn't mean that they are mistake free per se, right? Like he certainly can feel guilty, and honestly, I'm not sure. I'm not going to say he should, because that's not my place to say, right? But I think it totally makes sense. And I would just say that it's going to be a very interesting next few months in terms of the aftermath. I think we're very likely.
How is this going to change live performances? You think?
Exactly. There's already been talk. There's already been talks about events like this and how they change things, and I think it certainly will. I think in terms of, I don't think you'll ever see events like this so understaffed, because I think you've seen what can happen. Because I know, Davis, as you said during the break, we were talking about it, that more security guards wouldn't have changed the trampling that the audience did over the barricades and into the event. People just jumping in without tickets and breaking in. Maybe that's a fair point, but security guards do function as somewhat of a deterrent from said unruly behavior. And I know that this was more than understaffed. It's not like normal festivals need more staff. They just didn't have enough for the standard to begin with. And I think that was part of the problem. So we'll certainly see stuff like that. And again, how does this affect his career moving forward and going on tour? I think Astroworld, again, is done. I don't imagine they'll do it again, because they haven't done Woodstock since '99. So there's a reason for that.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing that can wreck a whole tour.
Exactly. It's like with the Alec Baldwin thing, they're not going to go back to making that movie. You're probably not going to go back to Astroworld. Just reality, I would say. Because how do you? How do you say, all right, guys, totally forget about what bad thing happened, come back? I don't see how that works. Just from a fundamental selling perspective.
The stuff here, the cops came to him at 9:30, and the show ended at 10:10. We have a quote here from, I think someone from the police department. You cannot close it down when you have over 50,000 individuals. We have to worry about riots when you have a group that's that young. It was a cooperation discussion between promoters, my fire department, and the police department, and NRG officials. I think that part was pretty good. That's what he said, which I understand. A lot of people at the crowd didn't really know about the people dying and being injured. They were just there for the show. There obviously was a lot of people that did notice it, and there were but I kind of understand that. There's so many young people there. If they just stopped the show midway through it, I'm sure there would have been a lot more trouble.
Would have been more trouble. And at some point, it's a lot of young people there. Young people do dumb things. As a young person, I can attest. So it's hard to control them, especially when there's 50,000 of them gathered in a parking lot,
Okay, look, I get that. I totally get that argument. But the fact is, this doesn't happen every day, so it is not that difficult.
Well,
the
least Travis could have done is told them to not go so crazy with the moshing.
Yeah, maybe I'm being a bit unsympathetic, would be the word, but if it was so difficult to control 50,000 people and so impossible, then music festivals wouldn't be a thing, but they are, and they have been. Simple negligence from the people that hosted this and created this is where the fault lies, not in just, fans are so crazy, what are they supposed to do? Well, there's procedure in place, because every festival doesn't end in 8 people dead and 300 people with various injuries and lawsuits. If it did, we wouldn't have music festivals.
Not every festival is people moshing like this.
Yeah. That's true, but then don't. I think there's ways to avoid that.
I don't think this is going to happen.
I don't think you can avoid it. That is what Travis's music is. You mosh to it. That's like what it's meant to do. And even if he told them not to, they're still going to do it.
I don't know.
What is he going to do? Come down there and scold each one of them individually?
I mean, I think
they're going to form a pit. They're going to start moshing. Whatever he says.
I think if the person on stage that everybody paid tickets to see tells them to stop doing something, it carries some amount of weight.
They're not going to see Beck at Woodstock. They're seeing Travis Scott at Astroworld.
I know
they're
that.
Going to mosh.
I know that.
But I think Travis should have done a lot more to try to mitigate that.
Come on.
Again, that's where I just think there could have been a bit more done to avoid this. And unfortunately, it wasn't. And now we're dealing with this very tragic event where 8 people have died.
Well, for everyone's sake, I hope they figure it out and are able to execute much better in the future, if there is a future for Astroworld, Travis Scott, and Howl Music Festivals, after taking like a year or two off from existing, are already having some growing pains as people flood back into the barricades. So we'll continue our discussion and a whole lot more here on Compact Discourse. We'll be back in about 2 minutes with some more of the show. We're going to talk Seinfeld and a whole lot more on the rest of the show. I'm hanging out with Alex and Davis. I'm your host, Jack Hart. We'll be back in about 2 minutes with the rest of the show. You're listening to Compact Discourse on WEGL 91.1 FM Auburn.
If you're a single man under the age of 35, you'd probably like to know what the ladies are looking for on an online dating site. A guy who had a few drinks and later got pulled over for buzzed driving. See, that could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. And doesn't a guy who's back living with his parents but calls them my roommates just scream Mr. Right?
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Dad, we need to talk.
Can we just enjoy the drive?
If you're not going to listen to me, who will we listen to?
Jeffrey.
Marcia Gay Harden, what?
Eyes on the road, Dad.
What are you doing? What are you doing in my back seat? How did you get in here?
You're getting older.
Not that old.
Your brain's changing. It's natural.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Honey, I've got experience with this. Jeffrey, brain health is all about making the most of your brain as you age and helping to reduce some of the risks to your brain.
Really? Now that's interesting.
So, you'll talk to her about this, but not me. Marcia Gay Harden? Where did she go?
Learn what you can do to help keep your brain healthy at brainhealth.gov. She didn't say goodbye. I mean, I would have. Visit brainhealth.gov.
Hey, Russell Wilson here, and I know how important exercise is.
It's essential. It's essential.
With Play 60, United Way and the NFL are helping kids stay active and play at least 60 minutes a day.
Healthy kids. Healthy kids.
But what this place needs is you. To donate or volunteer, go to unitedway.org/play60 because great things happen when we live united.
Donate.
These are the moments you remember.
The kick is good. Auburn wins.
These are the sounds you celebrate.
Fastball driven. Deep left center field. David Ross, you have company.
Whether it's the stadium, the arena, or the ballpark.
Auburn 75. Kentucky 70. I think I'll storm the court. There goes Davis. Oh my God.
Your home for Auburn sports is the Auburn Sports Network.
Making it green is making sure the air in your home is healthy for your family to breathe. Make sure you test your home for the presence of radon. It's easy. To learn more, call 866-730-GREEN. Preserve your family's health and well-being. Get your home tested. That's living healthy and green.
Make it green. Green, green, make it green. It's your home, it's your dream. It's your dream.
Make sure you test your home for the presence of radon. It's easy. To learn more, call 866-730-GREEN.
A message from the U.S. EPA.
Here's farmer and landowner John Prue.
We purchased the land about 3 years ago, and there was an old farmstead on there with trees. We were going to clear the land so we could farm through it. We thought we knew where the pipe was, so we didn't call to get it located. The work on our property led to the damage of a light crude pipeline. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but it could have been much worse.
Never assume the location or depth of underground lines. Always call 811 or visit clickbeforeyoudig.com before you start work. A message from the Pipeline Operators for Ag Safety Campaign.
WEGL Auburn.
Welcome back to Compact Discourse, right here on WEGL at 91.1. I'm Jack Hart, joined alongside Davis and Alex. This is, of course, the podcast about nothing here on the Big 91 Superstation. Is that pretty funny, Alex?
Yes,
that
was hilarious.
Hilarious. We go into WEGL. We tell them we got a show about nothing, and here we are. So today we're going to be talking about Seinfeld. As you may have not noticed this, but Seinfeld, after years of being stuck on Hulu, Davis's favorite streaming service, it's now on Netflix, absolutely ad-free. You can listen to Compact Discourse absolutely ad-free on our podcast if you feel so inclined to search for Compact Discourse on your podcast player of choice. But we'll be talking about, I think a lot of people are watching Seinfeld for the first time now that it is on the, what do they call Netflix these days? The
Netflix?
Flicks? The net?
I think it's just Netflix.
Netflix. The red one. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So Seinfeld's on Netflix. People have been watching it. A couple first-timers, including, I think, Davis. You're watching it for the first time.
Love it. So good. First time.
It's an all-time classic. My mom watches it whenever she's doing laundry.
Already in season 6.
Wow. Really making haste.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a big Seinfeld fan. I watch Seinfeld a lot. It was on TBS when I'd come home from school in high school, so I'd just throw it on, hang out in the kitchen, watch some Seinfeld. It's a good way to spend your afternoon.
Boom.
So, of course, I was not around for Seinfeld Mania in the 90s. I was not in that iconic picture of Times Square where they're watching the finale where who had a heart attack, Davis, and was able to get to
Frank Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra was able to get to the hospital very quick because everyone was watching Seinfeld. But I think, as with all things, people being introduced to a new piece of media has caused strife and discourse on the internet, as all things will, including something as, I will say, I don't know, not PC as Seinfeld. I mean, it's pretty tame by today's standards, but back in the day, it was pushing the limits here and there, especially for network television. So people are reacting in kind. Is that correct, Davis?
I have the tweet right here, of course.
Tweet, you say?
Yes.
Hit me with it.
From a guy named Keith Buckley on Twitter.
Keith Buckley.
Quote, did Seinfeld the show, in parentheses, not the human, completely eradicate empathy from cultural consciousness, or did it just show people that they had an unhealthy amount of things in common with people who had no empathy, ? Or neither, ? I just started from season 1, episode 1, and I already feel surly.
Surly?
Surly. That meaning bad-tempered and unfriendly.
Man.
I'm not.
The show put him in a bad mood.
The tweet is followed up by a secondary tweet saying, okay, so it's safe to say empaths had/have a hard time watching the television show Seinfeld, ? That was all I was after. Thanks, good talk. I think that was after.
No period after good talk. Remember that. What does no period mean? No period. I was like,
and so for those who are very curious, as this is probably not the definition of everyone, an empath is someone who feels more empathy than the average person. These people are usually more accurate in recognizing emotions by looking at another person's face. That's the definition I found on medicalnewstoday.com. So there you go.
Yeah.
I just want to give the whole context.
As we know, life is very hard when you're an empath.
It's hard when you're an empath. Hey, I always felt bad for Yuri in Space Buddies because he lost his teddy bears. That made me an empath.
I think yes, of all things, that does make you an empath.
I just think this is very funny because this reeks of the people coming around and suddenly discovering that Tropic Thunder's a thing and getting mad at Robert Downey Jr. once every 2 years. It's like, oh yeah, Seinfeld's a thing? I totally must have missed this. And not to mention the fact that that's the point.
Yeah.
The point of the show is that they're bad and that they do bad things. They are not.
It's not funny unless they do bad things.
When the gimmick says the show is about nothing, it's also because of the fact that there are no long-term relationships you're holding out for. You're not waiting for that moment when Jerry and Elaine get together. The point is they're not very likable people, other than the fact that they're very funny people.
That's right.
And funny in almost in the way that they speak and in the way that they tell their own story, specifically every time they're at the diner.
You're excited to see what minor quirk about his girlfriend Jerry's going to use as a reason to break up with her.
Exactly. Or what
laugh.
Strange thing George obsesses with, I just saw a clip, I want to say it was about George's girlfriend who every time they would go get dinner, she would go throw up. Yeah. And Elaine's like, should you be worried that she's anorexic? And George is like, I mean, yeah, but that's my money she's wasting or whatever, because apparently in his mind, she was not letting the meal digest, which is terrible.
He's paying for those
It didn't end up
meals.
being. She didn't actually end up doing that.
I figured not, because
And
that's
it's
how it always
bulimic,
goes.
by the way.
Okay, yeah, right. He always obsesses over.
I just watched that episode.
Really? I don't know where I saw that.
He's dating the model, and every time after she eats like an animal, and then she goes to the bathroom afterwards,
and
then he tells Elaine and Kramer, and they're like, "Yeah, you should go make sure she's not throwing up."
Which
Something
I
like
mean,
that.
like I don't know, like it's just absurd. Also, just looking at the numbers for what it's worth on Seinfeld. Seinfeld routinely in its first 4 seasons got average of 20 million viewers a season. The season 4 finale got 32 million viewers. That was all when the time slots constantly changed. Then for seasons 5 through 9, consistently the Thursday at 9 p.m. time slot never slipped below 29.5 million viewers. The series finale got 76.3 million viewers.
Is that highest ever for TV?
I believe it is one of the highest rated
more than
episodes
MASH?
ever. MASH's rating is legendary stuff. I'm gonna Google it right now.
Legendary stuff. Well, as the resident empath in the room, I guess, I'll say that I enjoy Seinfeld and find it very funny. And I also really enjoy It's Always Sunny, which in that show they are 10 times worse. No, 100 times worse than anything Seinfeld does with how they are. And I find both those shows very funny because I can suspend my disbelief and have fun with the show.
I was doing some research on Seinfeld on Netflix, and I've stumbled across this Gentleman's Quarterly article where the header image is just a really punched-in picture of half of Jerry's head.
Was it supposed to be more? You think he meant to do that?
I don't. The article is about how Seinfeld is now cropped to widescreen for 16:9 televisions now that it's on Netflix.
That might be a good joke.
So it might be a joke, but I don't know. This is just a very funny image. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll present it to the camera.
I've got the list here. It's all basically Super Bowls for the top 30 most watched things ever. Then Leon Spinks versus Muhammad Ali 2. And then MASH, Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen. 105 million views.
They didn't have anything to do back then.
That's like more than a third of the country back then.
Back then it was, that was 1980.
They got to be fudging those numbers. Did they check? Did somebody go around with a notepad and say,
what were people doing in the 80s?
Is that a census question? Did you watch MASH?
You're a citizen if you watch MASH.
Viewership is not an exact science. It's
That's more
basically
people than
accounted by
vote.
estimation on how many people own a TV and how many people must have been in the living room. So it's never been accurate.
I thought it was just like they checked the cable box to see if people were tuned into it.
It's never completely. Well, okay, so yeah, it is.
They use a
so
Nielsen
they just guesstimate and they're like, oh yeah, I think this guy's watching
it's not
it.
guesstimation. It's about saying, okay, so we know this many TVs are watching, and then you basically do the estimate how many people are probably looking at this TV.
Oh, because by probability, a subset of a randomly selected portion of the population should be demographically representative of the entire population.
Exactly, and if a certain amount of TVs have it, then you can basically say, all right, well, at least this many. In reality, it could have been more, which is the craziest thing. It very well could have been. You don't know. I mean, if there's a bar hosting a MASH finale, which there very probably was, right? I mean, that's a thing.
What I wouldn't
We've all seen The Truman Show. I mean, there's 45, 50 people sitting in one room watching one TV. You know, like stuff like that can happen.
It's a 2.5 hour episode. They just watched a movie.
Yeah. And at that time, the U.S. population was 233 million, so it was actually closer to half.
Closer to half.
It was 10 million away from being half.
More people than vote, you know?
Yeah, it's true. More people probably watched MASH that year than they did to vote.
Did you vote? Yes or no? Did you watch the MASH?
A little
finale?
easier to watch MASH than vote.
Other top ranked episodes include the Dallas Whodunit. I think that's the episode after JR got shot.
JR?
Who shot JR?
Simpsons is better.
83.6 million.
Who shot Mr. Burns?
The finale of Cheers got 80 million.
Ted Danson.
Ladies single figure skating from the 1994 Winter
Ted
Olympics,
Danson
78
numbers?
million.
Is that Tanya Harding?
And then the television film The Day After got 76.7 million views.
The Day After Tomorrow?
The day after what? What's the
know.
after part?
The Day After is American television that first aired November 20th.
I think it's about a
1993.
meteor.
The film postulates a fictional war between
Or
the
nuclear
NATO forces and
war.
the Warsaw Pact countries that rapidly escalates into full-scale nuclear exchange between the United States and the Soviet Union. The action itself focuses on the residents of Lawrence, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri, and of several farms near nuclear missile silos. The cast includes Joe Beth Williams, Steve Gutenberg, John Cullum,
That's the same year as
Jason
MASH.
Robards, and John Lithgow.
That was a good year for TV.
What were people doing in the 80s where they just sit in front of their TV and watching
Getting
things?
scared about Russians and Korea.
The
I
film
guess.
was also broadcast on the Soviet Union state TV in 1987 in a period of negotiations on the Intermediate Range of Nuclear Forces Treaty. The producers demanded that the Russian translation conform to the original script and the broadcast would not be interrupted.
Boom.
Awesome. Well, Maybe that'll be the next episode of Around the Block.
Stop it.
We're looking forward to some more, though. We got a new one airing today. I'll talk to Davis about that when we come back from a break. Alex has got to say goodbye, but we will be talking about Dune, Interstellar, and a whole lot more on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere.
Fire threatens everything in its path. When it threatens our nation and our communities, we respond. We bring the fight to the front line. The Army National Guard stands ready to face the dangers of Mother Nature and protect our homes and our neighbors. We will always be there when your community needs us the most. Discover more about all the ways you can serve part-time in your community by visiting NationalGuard.com. Sponsored by the Alabama Army National Guard. Aired by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
Alabama's companies know people need to feel safe at work. That's why Alabama Works has partnered with agencies across the state to provide access to everything from CDC guidelines to the latest in on-the-job safety innovations. At alabamaworks.com, you're one click away from what you need to know to get to work safely. Work safe, be safe. Your new success story is at alabamaworks.com.
Sponsored by Alabama Works, the Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Alabama veterans. Are you aware that because of your military service, you may have earned VA benefits? The Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs can help you access those benefits at no cost to you, even during COVID-19 when other resources might be hard to find. The Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs has an office near you. For more information, go to va.alabama.gov or give us a call at 334-242-5077. We're open and ready to serve you. Sponsored by the Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs, the ABA, and this station.
My part-time service in the Army National Guard makes it possible for me to be more for the community I call home. My training helps me at work when I lead by example. My service in the Army National Guard allows me to keep my community and those I care about safe from threats. Learn more about how you too can live and serve part-time close to home by visiting NationalGuard.com.
Sponsored by the Alabama Army National Guard. Aired by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
WEGL Auburn.
Hold up, little buddy, what is you doing? Finna go hard, hard, hard. Ice on my neck, ice on my wrist. That for the squad, squad, squad. Know they gon' hate, do what I tell them. Get on your jaw, jaw, jaw. Work on smooth, I got the moves, I swear to God.
Welcome back to Compact Discourse right here on WEGL 91.1 FM. I'm your host, Jack Hart, joined alongside Davis Carroll, and Grayson Moyer will be joining us in the stead of Alex Houston, station manager, joining us. We're all having a good morning so far. We're going to hit your Auburn, Alabama weather report for this morning. It has warmed up quite a bit. It is 63 degrees, warmed up from 50 when we started the show. It's going to be warm in the sun today, 72 degrees. 43 is your low here in Auburn. 68 is what it's going to get up to. Clear skies all day. Overnight temp of 45, so it's going to chill right back off when the sun sets at 4:45 tonight. So plan accordingly. Don't plan any outdoor activities too late now because it's going to be pretty dark by about 5 p.m.
Except for the WEGL meeting.
Yes,
come to that.
Come on down. We'll be having a great time out on the campus green. Staying warm. If you're coming to that, bring a hat. All right. That was your War Eagle weather update. As we did not do that at the bottom of the hour. So we're coming right back with Davis. We discussed Seinfeld in the last break.
We did.
We discussed Astroworld before that.
We did.
And we're going to close the show. I think we should talk about your movie podcast and what movies I know you and Grayson have been watching a lot of movies recently.
We have.
We watched some Matthew Lillard movies.
We watched 2 Matthew Lillard
They were
movies.
good.
So
we watched Scream
and Hackers.
Is Scream the same one that you watched for Through the Lens?
It is, yes.
Scream. I had never seen it before. Scream is really good.
I didn't know Matthew Lillard was in that.
He's
no
the main
spoilers.
character.
Is he the Scream?
No spoilers.
Okay.
That kind of just gave it all.
Fair enough.
He's not. I wouldn't call him a main character in Hackers, but he rules in it.
He was
he's
cool.
Matthew Lillard.
He was skating around. It was like Jet
Like
Punk
everyone in
Revolution.
that
He was like Jet
movie.
Punk Radio or Jet Set Radio.
Yeah. No.
He
Two
had
great
braids.
movies. Awesome actor. Bring him along.
I had a pretty hit tweet the other day. Had 5 likes and one of them was from Daily Matthew Lillard. about Matthew Lillard. It was perfect.
Matthew Lillard, for the uneducated out there, he played Shaggy in the live-action Scooby-Doo films.
He still plays Shaggy. He's the definitive current voice of Shaggy once Casey Kasem was like, I don't want to do that anymore.
Well, there's a couple other reasons
Now
he
that
can't
Shaggy
do it
can
anymore.
eat meat.
Well, yeah.
But, Shaggy is Matthew Lillard.
Yeah.
So that could be your cultural touch point. I know those movies resonate with our generation quite well. So explore the Lillard verse, if you will.
He's great.
Remember when Casey Kasem got kidnapped or whatever?
Excuse me?
There was I remember he went missing and his daughter was like, I have it pulled up.
You need to verify this information before you say it over the air.
They found him, but his daughter's like, my dad's been kidnapped. I think he just wandered off.
That's cool. Was this recent?
No, it was back in 2014.
Oh, that's still more recent than I would have assumed.
Yeah, I thought it was older than that.
That's recent in the timeline of Casey Kasem.
Yeah. And it's Casey Kasem. You never know. I don't like it when old people get up to mischief like that.
Yeah.
I mean, generally it's not because, they're of sound mind, but, whatever. I am opining on Casey Kasem's mental state.
That's another good word.
Opine?
Opine.
Awesome.
It's a lawyer word.
Davis,
thinking
confirm?
hard about it. Yeah, I mean,
is that admissible in court?
The word
What,
opine?
You're not supposed to opine, or at least
Yeah, you
unless
can't.
you're an
Don't
expert,
state your opinions in court. You gotta state the facts.
unless you're an expert witness.
That's true.
And then you have statements, you have experience to back up your opinions.
Grayson knows what he's talking about.
All right, what's coming up on Through the Lens today, Davis?
Today we will be recording at 12. Today we'll be recording Interstellar.
Oh, just Interstellar?
Yes.
Like the previous 10 episodes have been more than one movie.
Yeah.
And
This is a big movie.
Interstellar's worth a whole episode.
Yeah,
a long
I
movie.
think it is a long movie. There's a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about just it in general, what we like about it, the acting, obviously, behind the scenes. And then I have been delegated the scientist of the episode.
Well, that's trouble.
Yeah, it's trouble.
I mean, I guess between you and Alex.
I
guess you are the scientist.
I have a lot of interest in space.
You know, I was
physics
something
and
of a
stuff.
scientist myself.
We don't need any more engineers after all.
What episode's going to be airing while you're recording this one? What's going to play over the
Probably
radio
the
today?
Dune one, I think.
Dune.
If Alex,
All right.
if Alex did it, I'm not
I hope
sure.
he did. I'm going to yell at him if he didn't.
Alex is a
you'll
I
big
yell
love
at
being
him.
people's boss.
I think
it's
you'll yell at him if
exhilarating.
he didn't do it, if I'm being completely honest. Just knowing the dynamic of our organization.
Yeah.
All right. Did you enjoy
Wow.
Interstellar? Like, no spoilers, but do you have a history with this film?
I've probably seen this movie 30 times.
30 times?
Really?
It's up there. It's double digits for sure. I don't know about 30, but it's definitely more than 10.
I watched it for the first time with you. I watched it for the second time also with you.
Boom.
You put me onto this book, this companion book about the science of Interstellar, that really does a deep dive into all the mystical,
book, you would say?
Yeah, by Kip Thorne. For those of us watching on our video live stream over on YouTube, you can check out the cover of that one. Are there pictures in that one?
There is.
So you put me onto this book, and I picked it up in audiobook form to listen to on my runs over the summer. Pretty dense material.
It is very dense.
To get you going on a jog, but it constantly told me to refer to my companion PDF.
Refer to your companion piece.
But I think I have a pretty vivid imagination, so I could pretty much surmise what they were talking about. But is that part of why you like Interstellar? Is because of its commitment to get things right?
That's definitely part of the reason. If I could have my dream job, I'd probably be an astronaut, to be honest with that, or a paleontologist, or archaeologist like Indiana Jones. Fun fact about me. So
Hopefully
I'm really
not like Indiana Jones, though.
not killing people, but swashbuckling,
Swinging from chandeliers.
yeah, fighting people, maybe dealing with poison.
My dream job is being Brendan Fraser in The Mummy. I don't know
That'd
what
be a
his
cool one.
occupation was, but he was cool.
He was in the French
He was
Forge
in- yeah, he
Legion. So already
I know what that is,
off
Jack.
to a good start.
He could get married. Is that
What?
was that was something with the French Foreign Legion, right?
I believe so. I think they can grow beards though.
It's such a deep bit.
But yeah, I'm gonna be talking about the science of it. I love space science in layman's terms. I guess is a one way to describe it.
I'm excited.
I'm a big fan.
Were you a space kid or were you a recent convert?
I was a space kid.
Interesting.
I
was also
remember
a
I had some
space
space
kid.
books.
Did you know the order of the planets and what their scale was and stuff?
I obviously knew the order of the planets.
I feel like that
my
was
very
like-
energetic mother just bought whatever it is.
Oh, you don't know it?
Whatever bought us pizza. I can't remember the thing. I can name them in order right now if you'd like.
But yeah, I think a tick I had as a child was I would always draw maps of the solar system.
Terrible.
It was very it was very pleasing to me. I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, you draw the rings.
You draw the little one, and then you know how big they are relative to each other, how far apart, what order they're in, and then you get to color them because they're very colorful.
Have you been tested by a doctor?
I mean, definitionally, yes. I think you have to come to college, but
sometimes you have to be careful about the things you want to know.
But Jupiter's the biggest.
That's true.
Besides the sun.
Okay,
obviously.
So one thing I learned pretty recently, I still have trouble believing, is that you can fit all the planets in between us and the moon, or it was something crazy like that.
There are a lot of interesting space facts, which is why space is a interesting wealth of knowledge.
I don't think that thing about the moon is true.
I've seen it many times, and I'm pretty sure it is true,
I think
but
you're
I
misremembering
cannot.
a different
no,
fact.
I promise you that is what it is.
Like we're close to the moon,
I got it
but
right
we're not
here.
that close.
You could fit all the planets between Earth and Moon.
Wow.
30,
which is
From
crazy.
what source?
300
Math.
Universe. Yeah, 384,000 kilometers.
There's the
just
moon
show me
right
a
there.
Google
There's the
image search,
moon.
Davis.
No, this is real. They got them all. They lined them all up. You see right here.
They did this.
They lined them all
They
up.
did this.
They did this.
With 8,000 kilometers to spare. So
Okay.
with about the
Universe today.
with about the United States to spare in between of extra space.
All right.
I had one more thing.
I will back off.
If you
of being
unwound,
wrong.
if you unwound Saturn's rings, it said it'd be longer than that.
Interesting.
Based off this image.
based on this cursory image search. You've also got the whole
Oh, it's the guy from Twitter. I don't believe it anymore.
Mercury's the closest planet to every other planet conundrum. Space is infinitely interesting because it's so vast, and that's part of the allure of Interstellar and films like it.
Do you think it's infinite? Maybe not infinite. It's not the right word.
I mean, it's expanding.
Ever expanding.
We know that.
Is there
that's not a
an
question.
end of the universe?
We shall see. Only time will tell.
It's
or
like
should
in
I say,
Futurama where they go to the end of the universe and there's a door.
Yeah, it's Futurama.
Only
That's
space.
not science.
I know it's not.
Only space will tell. I guess you could say, since time is space.
Okay.
If Captain Kirk can, if whatever his name is,
If the black hole is the oyster,
then the
are
singularities
you gonna be rolling out your bag of impressions for the Interstellar episode?
I will. No promises they'll be good. Alex
I
does
can't
not
wait
like
till
them.
Davis is
That's a
Matthew
given.
McConaughey. Don't do it right now. You got to save it for the show.
Kip.
All right.
Those aren't mountains. Those
I
are
think
waves.
that is just going to have to do it for today's episode of Compact Discourse. I want to thank everybody for joining me today. I want to thank you for spending your Monday morning with us here in the studio here in Auburn, Alabama. And with that, we are going to call it for today. Thank you so much for listening to this exciting episode of Compact Discourse right here on WEGL 91.1 FM. However you joined us today, whether that be from your radio antenna from WeGLFM.com or by listening to our podcast. We would like to remind you that all of our previous episodes are available as a podcast, commercial-free, wherever podcasts are heard. Just search for Compact Discourse. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at CDiscAU. That's at CDISCAU for links to the podcast, information about the show, and to get updates about the show. You can also tweet at us at that handle to get your voice on the show and join the conversation of Auburn's only student-run drive-time morning show. You might also want to follow WEGL on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at WEGL_AU. That's WEGL_AU. Our dedicated team of marketing professionals is working tirelessly to provide you high-quality content for fans of the station. And with that, for Jack Hart, Alex Houston, Davis Carroll, Grayson Moyer, and Carl the janitor, this has been another exciting episode of Compact Discourse. We wish you a great rest of your Monday and week. We will talk with you tomorrow, 8 a.m. for the next episode of Compact Discourse. As always, this is Jack Hart signing off. Go 1-0. Have a great rest of your day. Stay warm and War Eagle.
As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be a home run.
Skilled trade workers are the backbone of every community, and also the Army National Guard. Soldiers trained to keep the power flowing, engines running, and in every other trade needed to accomplish the mission. These soldiers are on the fast track to learning skills that can set them up for success at home with companies looking to hire the best. Their resumes are being built through their paid training and part-time service. Find out how you too can learn a trade profession by visiting NationalGuard.com. Sponsored by the Alabama Army National Guard. Aired by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
Tossing food wrappers and soda cups can be expensive. That $7.99 value meal you threw out the window could cost you $500 in fines. And if you don't learn your lesson the first time, a second fine will cost you $1,000. Put garbage in its place. Throw away your trash, not your cash. Sponsored by the Alabama Department of Transportation, Alabama Law Enforcement Agency, Alabama